All right, welcome in this new training. My name is Jullian and I am the co-founder and CEO of Elite Chef Academy. In today's video, we're going to go over my personal experience about starting from a poor chef to becoming a $10,000 per month successful private chef. We're going to cover four important points in this training. The first one is how the idea was born. How did I start thinking I am going to become a successful private chef? What did I need to do? The most important thing that made me successful in that transition. How long did it really took me to become consistently a private chef making $10,000 per month? And finally, what are the three specific things that made me stand out from the crowd and make sure that I was prioritized from my clients to my other competitors? So we're going to start with how the idea was born. To give you just a little bit of context, I was an 8-year-old and I was already thinking about doing business. I had no idea how it looked like, but when I was 8 years old and you ask me what I want to do in the future, I will tell you I want to be a businessman. I want to run businesses. I want to have many different businesses. That's literally the only thing that I said because I was so inspired by people with a lot of money. And to me, people with a lot of money was people that were owning businesses. My parents didn't own any businesses. We were not lacking money, but we couldn't afford everything we wanted. And I had this such deep desire for being in a position when I'll be an adult where I will never ever say I cannot afford it. Okay. So this is where the idea was born. Now, more recently, this happened 8 years ago when I was 21 years old. I flew to Switzerland because I was dead broke, and a friend of mine actually proposed me to host me over there. So he paid literally for my ticket because I was in a trip in Norway. Things hit the fan. Okay, I was dead to go for business. Things didn't happen the way that I want to. Dead broke. All savings went away. It was not much saving, but anyway. And instead of going back to my mom's and my dad's house, which I could, but I didn't want to, my friend proposed me to go and live with him. He proposed me to host me for free. And I arrived in Switzerland, in Geneva, and two things specifically happened. The first thing was, it was the first time in my life that I was in a really fancy place where all the dots connected so quick. I was like, dude, like there's so many supercars here. There are people with money, and I might have something I can offer to them. Okay, I've been in fancy places before. I worked in fancy cities before, but my mind was not in business mode yet. Okay, so I couldn't really see any opportunities at that time. But there, I was in business mode already, and I was like, okay, there's something to do. So that was the first dot connecting. The second one is that one of my neighbor in the building that we were living with my friend was a cook like me. And when I'm saying a cook is just like there was this guy that is a cook in a restaurant, but that doesn't really stand out from the crowd. You almost like this guy. If you've never been a chef before, and like he shows you what he does on a daily basis, in about like 3 months from now, you can technically replace him. Okay, he was not a technician, no fine dining experience, no whatever. And this guy was cooking for an old lady, 12 hours a week, so with like 3 hours a day, grilling chicken and boiling broccolis all day. That's the only thing that this lady wanted to eat. He was getting paid 7,000 euro per month. Okay, so that was like what, almost to $7,500. 12 hours of work per week, 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. I made the math really quick. That's $150 per hour to grill chicken. And at this time, all the dots connected. I was like, the supercars, so many supercars, me in business mode, and this dude grilling chicken for $150 an hour. I need to do something. And that's how the idea was born, technically. So there's a mix between having already the belief that you want and you can do business no matter where you are in your life. Okay, you feel like you're called for this and you deserve this. That's the most important thing. The second thing was I was in the right place at the right time. AKA, I don't know, like if you're in the state of Wyoming and you start wanting to propose a private chef business, you might gonna be able to find clients, but maybe not the clients that I recommend you to work with. Okay, because the wealthier the person, the more they're going to pay you. And the example with this lady, she was super wealthy. She was willing to pay $150 somebody per hour, not to cook something fancy. She just wanted to make sure to have grilled chicken and broccoli all day. Okay, so it doesn't go with it's not about what you put in the plate. It's being there at the right time and providing the service that this person needed and finding that person, which we're not going to talk about today, by the way. Okay, so again, it's a mix between having the belief, being at the right place, and proposing the right service to the right person. Now that I had all of this into place, technically I had a plan. What did I need to do? Well, the first thing that I needed to do was to find clients. And that's the first thing that you'll need to do once you have your plan ready. Okay? So a plan ready is having the belief that is set up in your mind and nothing can beat it. Okay? You know that you're going to become a private chef no matter what. And that could be another topic also, because when I arrived there, many people tried to discourage me from doing it, even the closest people that were around me, not just people that I met. But it's going to be another training. So once you have the belief and you're in the right location, because that needs to be part of the plan, you cannot stop like thinking about how to find clients if you're not in the right location. It's just like you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. And thirdly, having a service to propose. Okay, so having your offer ready. What did I need to do? Is finding clients. And I was a mess at this time because it was the first time that I was going to look for clients. So it took me longer than what it could take me. Technically today, if I teach you how to find clients within the next 7 days, I can guarantee you that you're gonna find your first client. Okay. Oh, it's because you haven't done the job properly. But other than that, like it's gonna take you 7 days. For me, it took me maybe like, I'll say like maybe between a month or 2 months to find my first client. But again, it was because I was so disorganized that I wasn't using my energy efficiently. Okay. And I was also broke, so I needed to work every single day as a chef because this was the only thing I knew. So I was working a lot too. Okay. But really want to go back to this and make it clear the only thing you need to do when you've got the belief, you've got the location, and you've got the offer is finding a client. That's the only thing you need. Okay. Because then what comes after finding the client is closing the client and performing, right? But like the event is booked and then you need to come and you need to perform. So how did I find that client? I found it on the Facebook group. I find that person on the Facebook group after putting a post in the Facebook group. And again, that was 7 years ago. I was so messy. I didn't know how to structure it. I didn't even know exactly where to look. I didn't even know exactly how to follow up if my post wouldn't be answered. I didn't know who to contact and what to look on the post to do not waste time when I go hunting in the group, okay? Like prospecting. But technically, this is where I found it. There are multiple ways that we can go over, and this wouldn't be the only way that I'll provide to you, especially if we want to make sure that I can guarantee you that you find your first client within the first 7 days. But again, that was my strategy. That is what I recommend to most of people when they get started. And the other strategy, which we won't talk about today, it's pretty much the same. It just takes a little bit more physical effort. Okay. So yeah, went on a Facebook group, specific Facebook group, met the right person, or find the right person, met that person, give a little bit of value. So again, not gonna, we don't really need to know everything that happened in details, but technically this guy had a position to offer me. He wasn't a client. He had a client that was looking for a private chef. Okay. So this guy was running an agency there. And a small agency. It was not a private chef agency, but more like an event type of agency. And he needed a private chef, but then he didn't need a private chef anymore. Okay. So it was a little bit weird. At the time he needed it, but like between the time he needed it and we met, he didn't need it anymore. But I was like, okay, I'm still going to provide value to this guy because he's the only one I know. Again, maybe a mistake because I was then only focused on that person instead of like keeping going my research and maybe getting to where I wanted to be faster. But thinking, okay, I provide value to this guy for like a week. He gave me some jobs here and there. And then as soon as he had an opportunity, he gave me that opportunity. And then my first ever private chef performance I had was working for the Canadian ambassador in Geneva. Okay, and I was getting paid $700 a day to work like what 6 hours per day. We was to do fucking breakfast. So I made like $2,100 in 3 days, first performance after 2 months looking for contract. Not too bad, okay? With literally no experience in like how to look for clients, how to organize, where to go, who to talk to. Okay, so again, today it would take me if it was just me, in 48 hours, I'll find my first client. Okay. I'll give you 7 days because but if I'm going to do this later on, I'm going to create a challenge where I'm going to go in New York and find a client within 48 hours. Anyway, you got it a little bit. What did I need to do in order to land my first client? How long did it take me? How long it took me to go from finding that first client and cashing in $10,000 per month consistently every single month? Okay. Because there's a difference between, during a performance, you make 2,500 a week. 2,500 a week is technically $10,000 per month, but in fact you only work like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so you didn't really make 10K. Or then you work like for a month and working for a few months. And this is technically what happened to me in the beginning. So the really first time I hit 10K a month, it was 6 months after meeting the Canadian ambassador. Okay, maybe a little bit less, maybe like something like 3 to 4 months, not 6 months. Okay, because it was summer. Yeah, it was around. Yeah, it was like 3 months. Okay, 3 months. I had my first $12,000, something like this month, working full time for the family. But then what happened is that at the end of this performance, I made a huge mistake. I made the mistake that a lot of young entrepreneurs are doing, is that I spent all my money. I literally, instead of reinvesting that money into my business, I literally went on vacation and burned that money. Now, it was not supposed to be vacation. It was supposed to be another mission. But here's the mistake. Okay, here's the mistake I made. I finished that performance working full time for this family, but it was like a 4 weeks contract, 5 weeks contract for like summer. Made 12K, never made this amount of money, so much money in short amount of time. I ended up being, in my car, I remember with like 12K liquid, and I was like, dude, like this shit's easy, like I'm gonna do this every single month of my life. Like now I'm a, $150,000 a year guy, and I was 22 years old at this time, and yeah, 22. And I got a call by a guy, an old friend. He's about to open a restaurant in Africa. He's from Africa. He's about to open a restaurant in Africa, and he's like, I need a consultant. Like, I need help. I was like, fair enough, dude. Like, if I literally was a proper chef, if like 6 months ago I was a nobody, and now I'm a proper chef cashing in 12K a month, I can be a fucking consultant for opening a restaurant. I'm not gonna get into details. I flew to Africa, okay, on the go. Like 3 weeks later, I was in Africa. It cost me like a lot of money to fly there, and long story short, it was a mess. Okay, the restaurant, this guy, all the environment, all the things that we were planning to do over there, and I spent a month and a half doing sheet stuff over there, thinking that I was a millionaire with the hard money that I made that was supposed to be used to reinvest into my business to make more money. Okay, reinvest in marketing, reinvest in tools, reinvest in my own personal development, like as a person, as a human being, right? Invest in books and trainings and whatever I needed, certifications, and I didn't do that. So what happened is after I flew back from Africa with the last money I had in my bank account to buy me like a ticket to fly back. Flew back to Switzerland. I'm back to zero. I've got like $1,000 in the bank, and I remember because I couldn't even afford a month of rent, especially in Switzerland, with really expensive. There's no like a hotel that you can afford for like $30 a night. Like it doesn't exist. So if you don't have at least like 2K, because you can't afford like again like an apartment for 30 days and you need to sign contracts and stuff. Airbnb is super expensive. The only thing I could afford, it's crazy, it was to live with homeless people. So I ended up being with it's funny because I'm laughing because it's crazy. I ended up living with homeless. So it was either with homeless, either with drug addicts, either with people coming out of jail, or immigrants, okay, that don't have papers and they're like locked in the country and they're staying there so they don't go back to their home country. Dude, it was dark as shit. But again, my ability to turn nothing into something allowed me to only stay there for 3 weeks. Okay, and I assumed that I was the guy that spent the least amount of time in this place, right? Because there were dudes. I was the youngest one, by the way, but there was dude that was there living there for fucking like 3 years, right? And so I went there. They give you a house. They give you a room. They give you a hot shower. They give you 3 meals a day, and they give you jobs. Okay, within the community. So you can clean. You can be a gardener. I was the chef. Okay, I was the chef, and I was a truck driver. So I was driving truck, lifting stuff, and cooking. Okay, replacing the chef when he was the actual chef when he was in day off. And you were getting paid for this. Not much. I think it was something like $130 a week. But staying there for 3 weeks without having to pay for rent and everything allowed me to go from maybe a little bit more than $1,000 that I had in the bank to like something like 15 and something $100 in total. Okay, while I was looking for clients because I was still in Switzerland. Long story short, the only thing I want to tell you is that from there, I applied the same technique to finding clients, but a little bit more advanced because this time I had experience, right? I had this experience with the ambassador of Geneva. I had this full-time in-house experience with this family. Every time I got recommended letters and everything, so like testimonials, case studies, and in between those two performances, I had a couple of more performances. I think like three or four. Okay, like private chef daily event. So I was set up to start getting to the next level, which we could talk into like another training to get clients. Okay, and worked my way there. And after like 2 months, I found like a monthly full-time type of contract that allowed me to cash in more than $10,000 per month every single month consistently. So technically, if you take like this 2 month of experience before cashing in 10K plus this month in this, fucking refugee kind of thing, it's like 3 months plus like let's say a month and a half, 2 months traveling to Africa, that's 5 months, plus you count, 3 to 4 months plus a month of performance at 6 months, plus 4 months before finding this first month full time in house contract. Approximately a year. More or less, it took me 12 months from the day that I arrived in Switzerland for the first time, dead broke, being hosted by my friend, to the day that it was the second time back to back that I was cashing in $10,000 per month. Okay? Today, with what I experienced after almost a decade in the space, is that It will take you 3 months, 90 days to start making your first $10,000 per month by me taking you under my wings. Okay. What made me stand out? There is three important points that allowed me at such a young age, because even if it took me 12 months, it took me 12 months at 21 years old. Okay. From 21 to like ending, 22 ish. So 12 months from 21-year old being a chef. I mean, I was at 19 years old, I started my career as a chef. Okay. So I had like 2 years of experience and that's it. Literally, no culinary background, no fine dining experience. I tried to work in fine dining establishment. I was getting kicked out like right away. They were firing me. And if they were not firing me within the first month, I was firing myself because I couldn't fucking handle people like throwing shit at me and like talking bad to me and everything. So anyway, so no fine dining experience, no stars Michelin experience, no school experience, no degrees and whatever, business, marketing, sales, whatever. And yeah, I was just a random that knew how to turn nothing into something. So that was the first really thing that made me stand out. Is that today you put me naked in the jungle, like I'll find some wood, I'll find some wood, I'll go and fish. I'll put some clothes. I'm struggling to talk and be able to survive. Okay, and you put me there naked. Like a month later, I created a complete environment. And I never went alone in the jungle. It's just like what I'm saying is like, even if you put me there, I'll figure it out. I won't die. That's the really first thing. If you have this figure it out mentality, the ability. If you don't have it, I'll teach it to you. The second thing that made me stand out is the level of conviction that created the confidence I had to go and serve those certain types of people. And I'm placing it in this order because conviction comes from within and confidence comes from without. You build confidence, you create conviction. Okay, you don't need to be anybody or to become anyone in order for you to be convicted with something, because the reality is that your brain doesn't know the difference if you already achieved something or if you have not. So this takes practice. Okay, it's not something that's going to come just one day. You're just not going to wake up today and become convicted, which will allow you to put into practice the actions that you need to become more confident. But the more you're going to practice conviction, the more convicted you're going to become. So increasing that level of conviction allow me to put into place the necessary actions to have the confidence to get in front of the crowd, aka right, and ask for clients and go and knock doors and present myself as somebody that I was not yet. We'll have to admit that, right? I was presenting myself and I was selling myself. I was overselling myself. Okay. And when some people will tell you you better to under deliver, you're better to under sell and over deliver. Well, you do this when you're already established. When you're established, you definitely have to under sell and over deliver. But when you start, you have to oversell and over deliver. Okay, it's not like you oversell and you under deliver. Like, delivery has to be at the top too. But in the beginning, you really have to sell yourself like you're already that person, because otherwise people don't want to work with you. So again, if we recap, the first thing is this: figure it out mentality. It's being resourceful. Being resourceful doesn't mean you have access to resources. Remember, if you put me naked in the jungle, I figure it out. Okay, and it's the same with everything. So being resourceful means you don't have the resource, but you work your way out. You work your way up with what you have around. With you play with the environment, and this is what most successful business owners. Oh, they're a resourceful person. The second thing is having a super high level of conviction that creates confidence by the action that are being taken consistently with the conviction. Okay. And the third thing is the energy that I was bringing when I was performing, meaning that aside from doing a really great job as a cook, right? I was cooking well, right? I mean, things that people were eating, they were enjoying the food, okay? But it was much more than that. It was how I was serving people. Okay, so now you can tell me, well, yeah, you were a waiter. It's not about that. When I was a waiter, and I was not a waiter for 10 years. I've been a waiter for like 6 months. It's the same. I was standing out from the older waiters that was waiting table for 10 years because of that energy, because of how welcoming I was with people. So it was that energy when I was serving people, but also how I was communicating with them, how I was communicating with the kids, how I was treating the staff around me, and how the clients were seeing me treating my staff, or treating the people, treating their staff, their maids, their gardeners, their masseurs that came in and give them massage. How would I treat their friends when they were coming at home? How would I behave when they came to me 30 minutes before lunch and they'll be like, Julian, we have formal guests. Can you do something? I would always figure it out. So this was the third thing. Okay. It's like people knew that when I was in the house, there were a good energy over there. I was quiet. I was smart. I was not talking too much. If they were talking to me, it was an enjoyable and quality conversation. And I was a really respectful person with the older people around them, not just them. These are the three things that made me really stand out from the crowd and allowed me to become a 10K and plus per month consistently successful private chef.